Thank you for joining today's Doc Live webinar. And today's topic is PowerApps, as you probably know, and how you can use PowerApps to maximize your business potential as a productive solution for anything you really need it for. My name is Brandon. I'll be your host today. I'm a Microsoft expert and I'm a PowerApps developer here at Doc365. And my colleague, Heather Crouch, is unfortunately out sick today. But she'll be available in the chat to answer any questions you have and anything that you need to know while I'm doing the webinar. So first things first, just a brief introduction on us. We've been in business for just under 17 years, and we started working out with really large enterprise clients building custom SharePoint intranet solutions for them, completely from the ground up. But with our many years of experience, we realized that small and medium-sized businesses and even some large businesses can't afford to wait 6 to 9 months to have a solution in place. So we came up with Doc, which is a well-thought-out pre-built intranet solution that can be deployed within 4 to 6 weeks, but can still be surprisingly customizable. As you can see here, we have some of our business values. And 3 of those main ones that I'd like to point out is that we want the overall increased communication and collaboration throughout the entire business, regardless of location or number of employees, the simplified user experience for all employees, and the quick adoption rate by all employees due to the ease of use and the fact that we can train our clients on how to use the site and have it up and running in just a small 4 to 6 weeks. So now I'm going to go over our demo site and just show off what we can do. This is our Doc product that we deploy to clients. It's just a nice, simple design, really easy to use. Everything's really straightforward, nice and simple. And it's really customizable. All of these things can be customized in just a couple clicks. Really simple. I personally like using it myself. Now, business models, in order to continue to evolve, have to be technologically driven just to stay competitive. So because the technology market is updating so rapidly. So the demand for mobile apps is actually growing 5 times faster than IT departments can deliver. And that is why I would like to show you guys today our, or just a good way of building some apps that can be a solution for your business. PowerApps can help power users to build and deploy apps easily. It's a low-code, no-code solution. You don't have to know any programming to make something that's productive. And if you do know programming, even better. It can connect to the systems you're already using, so it can connect to your SharePoint, it can connect to your Power BI, to your Azure directory, any of your databases that you have. It can even connect to Google Drive, just whatever, almost whatever you can think of, it'll connect to it. Like I said, low-code, no-code solution, and you can publish it right away. You just save it and publish it, and it's there, and everyone can start using it. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to build a simple application. So if I go into PowerApps here, I'm going to start by building a blank mobile application right here. And I'll make a simple, just small expense reporting app out of this. And while we're waiting for this to load, I already have a list set up here. It's just a simple expense list. It has the title, description, amount, who the approver is, and the status. Once I have that loaded, you see this blank form right here. Go ahead and insert in edit form. Then we'll want to connect it to our data. This is the easiest way to connect to SharePoint data, is to just add a form and add a new connection and connect it right there. It's actually really simple. So when you click to add a new connection, click New Connection. Scroll down until you find SharePoint. or whatever you're using the form for. And I'm using SharePoint Online, so I'll do Cloud Services. Once I do that, it'll create the connection for the app to use, and I can use that connection anywhere in the app with any form or button or anything. It doesn't even have to be in this form. So I will want to grab the link to the list that I want to use and paste that in there. And then it will automatically pull any of the lists that I have on that site. And I just choose the one that I want. My bad, didn't copy the whole thing. So you can see my expense list right here. I'll just choose that. And it'll add this and put all of these as nice, easy to use data cards in this form. Now, I don't have to use every single one in here, and I actually don't want to. The user doesn't need to know the status of the item when they're submitting it, or the attachments even. So I can just go ahead and take those out. All they need to know or all they need to input are the title, description, the amount, and the approver. Now, real quick before I add any function here, this form is a little blank, so I'm going to add a little bit of just color to this, a title, simple title, and some buttons. Make it look nice and good. So I'll add a title bar right here, and that can stay that color. Oops. And then I'll just add a simple label right in the middle of that. And I'll have it say submit your expense. Once I do that, I can go ahead and change options like the size and the alignment. I'm just going to make it bold. And then I'm going to go back in here and change the color and make it a nice bright white. And actually, let me make it a little bigger too. Now it's a little more clear on what you want the user to do, and it looks a little better too, aesthetically. So I can fit this form right here. And now once the user adds all of these fields, they're going to need a button to submit. And they'll probably want a button to reset the form too. So I'll just add those, drag them into the middle, make them a little bigger. And I'll edit these too. So here's our submit button. Here's our reset button. I'll change the color of this, make it a gray. Looks good. Now you'll see if I start this application, the form actually doesn't show up. That's because you need to initialize the form in order to use it at all. So this form exists, but you have to run the command new form. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the reset button because I can put it in here under when the application starts, but it won't work right away in our test environment because it's already visible. But the command is just new form and then the name of the form you create. So I'll go ahead and put this in here. And once I do that, the form's there. The user can enter whatever they want. Now the reset button should also reset the data in the form. I've typed that, so I'd like to get rid of it. That's another simple command. Reset form, same form, done. Oh, whoops, I have this backwards. Simple mistake. If you put the reset form before the new form function command, then it's not going to create the new form once you reset the form, and resetting the form will delete the form, so it's not going to show up that way. You need to create the new form after you reset it. It's a good example of some things. You just got to be paying attention to your order of operations. Now, before I do any submit functionality, I want to go into this approver thing, or not approver, the status column. And I want the status column to always be pending approval until the approver changes it from a pending to approved or pending to denied. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to go in here and add the status as a field back, but then I'm going to hide it. And the user won't be able to see that when they're using this application. The benefit to doing that is I can go in here and change the default value. Which I have to unlock the property in order to change that, but that's not a big deal. It just means that it's a customized data card now. But I can go in here and I can change the default value to pending, which is what I believe I have it in my list. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, whoops. I want to do that in the choice itself, not in the data card. So for the choice, I want it to be pending by default. Just a second. I can check that. Well, regardless, after that, we'll want to submit the form. And that will submit the form to the SharePoint list. And once we submit the form, we're going to want to make a new form too, because that'll allow them to make or continue using the app after they submit. So if I go in here and I just add things, then it will submit it to the list. Now that is going to add this to the list, but that's not going to do anything in ways of changing our status. So in order to make that status functional, we're going to want to use a flow. And for that, we'll go back into this button. I'm going to go ahead and copy this because PowerApps like to delete your code when you add flows in here. But go in here and create a new flow. And this is just going to be a simple flow, and the initiator is PowerApps itself. You just call it in here, and it will do it. So I can go in here. And I will want to send an email with options. From Outlook. And I'm going to make my choices approve or deny. And I'm going to want to send it to whoever PowerApps tells me to send it to. So I'll do ask in PowerApps. I also want the subject of the email to say the title of the app. So I'll say, please review expense. Oh, my apologies. And it'll ask for the title that we put in this form. And then for the body, I'll put the title of the expense again, and that'll be the same one that we just used. Then I'll put the description, and that'll be something new that we have to tell PowerApps. And then I will put the amount. I'll put a $sign first, just for an easy way to do that. And this will be the number that we put in for amount. Once we do that, we can actually use this email for functionality in Flow. So the next step will be to do a conditional. This conditional will tell us whether or not they chose approve or deny, and so we can make it do what it's supposed to do when they approve and do what it's supposed to do when they deny. So we'll just go ahead and do the selected option for that email. Once we do that, we want to know if it's equal to approve, because if it is equal to approve, then they said approve, and if it's not, then they said deny. So this will be our approve section, and this will be our deny section. For both of those, actually, we will want to use the update item command. I'll do the first one, and then I'll do the second one. So first, update item, we're going to need the URL for that list again, which is in here. And every time you copy this URL and use it in PowerApps or in Flow, it's usually going to go up to the individual subsite that your list is on. That's just a good point of reference for whenever you're using this stuff. So I'll put that in there, and then it will show up in here. And for the ID, I haven't got the ID yet, so I'm going to go ahead and ask for that in PowerApps as well. The title, I already got the title, that is this one, and I also already got the amount, so I can use both of those. It was subject and body 1. And then I can just change the status to approved. For the deny option, it's going to be the same thing. Update item. Same link. Oops. You have to do custom value when you paste the link. And then expense, the same ID I just got, the same title I just used, and the same amount I just used. Then I'll just choose denied. So what this flow all does is it will ask PowerApps who to send it to. It'll ask PowerApps the title and say that in the subject. It'll ask for the description and the amount. Send an email. That email will get sent to whoever this is, and they can select approve or deny in the email. Once they do that, if they select approve, it will get this item and choose approve. And if they select deny, it'll get this item and choose deny. Then anytime I submit an item, I can use this flow, and it will send that email and have the approver deny that item. So what I'll do from there is, let me rename this to webinar. Click save. I'm going to go ahead and save and refresh my app. Just so that I can make sure that that flow shows up under flows. And then when I go back into my application and try to add a flow, it should be in there. and I will be able to add that to my submit button and have it so that anytime the user creates the item in the form, it'll email whoever they put under approver and ask for an approve or deny option. So from here, I'll add my webinar flow. And then I want to get whatever items they submit in here. Now, if I went in and just choose the value of all of these text boxes, then when I submit the form, if I submit it first, which I need to do in order to use the flow, it won't have any value in those text boxes when I run the workflow. So our way around that is to choose the form and then do the last submitted item and then choose the properties for each. So the first one is the email. So I'm going to do approver and that approver's email, because it can't send an email to a person, it has to send it to an email. Then for the subject, I want to do the same thing, form 1, last submit, and then title. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the form 1 last submit because I'm going to have to do that for all of these. For the body, that was the description. So I'm going to do form 1 last submit description. Body 1 was the amount. I'm going to do form 1 last submit amount. And then item ID isn't in our form, but every item has an ID. I can do form 1 last submit ID. Now, whenever I click the submit button, it'll submit the form, create the new form so that you can still see it, and it will take that last submitted form that you just did and pass all of the information it needs for the flow, and then run this workflow that we just created. And that will finalize our approval process for this application. So I can type in a title here, type in a description, type in an amount, and I'm choose myself as an approver. Now when I click submit, it'll reset this, and you can see this flow should be running. That flow will run, and I'll get an email that will ask me if I want to approve or deny. Once I choose one of those options, it'll change the status in here, and you can use this list with your statuses in here for all of your expense reporting needs. When you do that, you can even, once you're finished with it, group the status by approve or deny. You can group them into 2 sections if you want for ease of looking at the list. You can filter it. You can do whatever you need to do for showing that data in the best way possible. And you could even export it to Excel or something else. So it's really useful, just a small application like this. It's really useful to see what that can do for you. And if you'd like an example of a better or a more fleshed out application, I actually have up the expense reporting app that I recently made. And that is right here. Sorry. I had it in this tab. Right here, this is the app that I've been working on for the past month or two. Hasn't really taken that long to build something as fleshed out as this, but it has all kinds of functionality. And this is a product that we're selling today. You can submit an expense. You choose an approver. Now this one doesn't let you select yourself as an approver. You have to actually have someone else approve your application and add an expense. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little test expense right here. That's a lot of money. And it'll even let you add a photo. I have a piece of tape over my camera so you can't really see anything, but you can take a picture of your receipt, and with that it'll upload the picture of the receipt with your expense that you submit. When you do that, the approver can look at the picture of the receipt in the application under the approval section and choose whether or not they want to approve or deny your receipt based off of that. So you can see there's a lot of just huge potential for functionality with PowerApps and with doing this type of stuff. You'll see I'll submit this. And once I submit that, I can actually go back into the expenses that I've made, go into pending approval, and look at the approval expense that I just submitted. And I can also view the receipt and everything like that. All of these are grouped by report, or the report number. So anytime I submit an expense or a group of expenses, they'll show up under the next report number in the list. This makes it easy for sorting the expenses submitted by different users, and it also just makes the whole organization process of the expense reporting easier, and it's something where I can go back into this app and make it be the place where they view. So with this app and with our solution that we're creating, nobody will really have to go into the SharePoint list unless they want to specifically pull that data out anywhere. There will always be an even more convenient place to view the data for these expenses. But I'll show you. Here's the approved section. Any thing that happens, the resubmit section, they can go in and they can edit and resubmit whatever expense they needed to resubmit. And for the denied section, just like that. And there's one that shows all of the reports that have been submitted, that you've submitted. These are all the ones that I've submitted. There's also my approval section, and you can approve an expense and it'll be approved, or you can deny it or request that it be resubmitted. So it's really cool to see all the types of things that you can make with PowerApps. It's definitely something that can increase productivity with just a really small amount of work. I know that I've spent a good amount of time on this, but for the amount of time that I've spent on this, I've built something that is way more fleshed out than any other tool I could use to build something like this in this amount of time. So definitely something that I think anyone should use in their business to improve their productivity, or even if you want to make products in PowerApps like we do, it is a great tool for that. I guess now I'll open it up for questions. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat or speak.
Brandon, there's a question in the chat window. Please take a look at that.
All right, I'm looking at that now. That's a great question. Andrea, I'll actually show you that. So you asked, if you create an app, is it visible to your teammates or do you have to share it to your team? You do have to share your applications. And the way that you do that is under PowerApps. Once this loads, there's an option in the application for sharing. You can share it to everyone in your organization and just give them use access, and that will make it so that they can all see it as soon as you make the app and as soon as you publish it, if you want everyone to be able to see it. But if you want specific permissions, you can just go in here and click share, and it will let you add specific users or groups or anything you want to use, and you can change the permission level that they have. So if I were to add my organization, I can change this to can use or to can edit. So ideally, if you were the only one developing an application, you'd probably want to make it just can use for everyone else, and you would be the editor. That's a great question. Thank you. Any other questions? Is this recorded and available? Joe, I believe you recorded this, right?
Yes, yeah, it will be available probably by tomorrow.
Okay, great. So that'll be up on our site. The permission is set up per app. Is this correct? Yes. So when you go to the app, like I was just showing, in that app you click share, and that's where you choose the permissions, and it is on an individual app basis. Can an app be shared outside the organization? I think I actually haven't tried that yet, but I'm pretty sure it could.
You can, but provided they need, they have license for PowerApps.
Yes.
So if you are able to add that external user as the user within your tenant, yeah, you can, but they must have, PowerApps license to use it.
Yeah. Anyone using the app has to have some sort of PowerApps license to use it. But I believe if you did want to share it outside of your organization, what you would want to do is just turn on external sharing in the site collection that the app is on, and or that the app is accessing, and then you would want to have a group in your SharePoint that has those people in it and add them in here. You could probably do it that way. No, it will not give them access to that list. So if you have, you asked if a user doesn't have access to the list, will it give them access to it? If a user didn't have access to this expense submission list that this app is accessing, it will actually error out on the app. It'll throw errors like this one right here. So you have to give the user permission to the app, and you also have to give them permission in whatever resources the app is using. Good questions. Anything else? All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions,
And we can stick around for a few more minutes if there are more people on the meeting. So
yeah, of
we'll
course.
stick around for 5 more minutes, and if anybody have got any questions, please feel to ask. Now you don't have to be muted. You can ask or put that in the chat window.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be here for the next few minutes to answer any questions anyone has. And like we said earlier, the recording of this will be up on the site. So if anyone wants to review this, they can. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And if any of you want to contact us or want a demo of our doc software or anything like that, here's our contact information over here. You can contact Heather and she'll set up a demo or answer any questions you have.